Easter, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful Easter yesterday. I'm sure it was a little different than Easters in the past have been. For me, it was certainly a little bit different. I would have much rather have had my family around to smooch, but we Zoomed each other and we played some games and we had a great time, and I hope you did too, because that's the most important part, is to just give a little love to the people that you love. I was looking and looking and looking for a great Easter book, but I couldn't really find one that I really liked. So I'm going to read you this one because my friend Kiki Bean gave this to me. And it's called The Seed Who Was Afraid to Be Planted. And it's by Anthony DeSefano and illustrated by Erwin Madrid. Now, on first read, you might say, what does this have to do with the resurrection, Mrs. Impastato? But as I'm reading, I want you to be pondering about Jesus and being buried and being risen. And what does this story have to do with it? Okay, here we go. Once there was a seed who lived in a drawer in a room in a mansion by the beautiful shore. The drawer was filled with all kinds of seeds for bushes and trees and flowering vines. The seed was quite happy and had lots to do. The drawer was quite pretty and painted bright blue. Cozy and warm, the seed felt secure. The drawer was a playground, of this he was sure. But all was not well. The seed was afraid that he would be taken and planted one day. The mansion, you see, was owned by a man whose hobby was gardening and tending his land. The man sometimes took a seed from the drawer, and no one would see that seed anymore. The seed was so scared that there might come a day the man would reach down and take him away. The thought was just awful and hard to believe. He couldn't imagine that he'd have to leave. Then one dark day, the drawer opened wide. The seed saw a hand reach down from outside. He tried to escape, he begged and he cried, but there was no place to run or to hide. The hand clasped about him. The seed shook with fear. He yelled to the man, "Don't take me from here." Outside in the garden, the seed looked around. He saw to his horror a hole in the ground. A hole in the ground? Oh no, it can't be. I want to go back to my drawer. Can't you see? I'm scared to be planted. I want to be free. I'm in so much pain and such agony. The man was just silent. He made not a sound. He just smiled softly and put the seed down. The sky was deep purple. The seed said a prayer. The man stood above him and buried him there. He started to moan. He started to groan. He felt so abandoned, forsaken, alone. Tired and frightened, he started to weep, but soon closed his eyes and fell fast asleep. All covered with dirt, he dreamed he would die. But then all at once, in the blink of an eye, something took place there in that hole. To the seed's wary body and terrified soul, he started to change, he started to glow. The little seed stretched and started to grow. "What can be happening?" the little seed cried. "What is this feeling I have deep inside?" His body expanded, he swelled and he grew. He rose in the dirt till his head wiggled through. Once through the soil, he saw a great light. The sun in the sky was dazzlingly bright. Slowly but surely, the seed was aware of rising and climbing up into the air. At last, the seed realized, at last he could see, he was really and truly becoming a tree. Higher and higher the little tree went. Into the heavens he made his ascent. Suddenly branches sprang from his side. Hundreds and hundreds of leaves multiplied. The branches grew nuts and fruits that hung down. They swayed in the breeze and covered the ground. Then, filling the air with fragrant perfumes, the tree sprouted flowers and blossoms and blooms. Then birds began building nests for their young, joyfully flapping their wings as they sung. In the tree's branches the baby birds napped, while woodpeckers pecked at his bark full of sap. Cardinals and blue jays flew from above. They played with the eagles and owls and doves. Squirrels and rabbits began to appear. Beautiful butterflies came flying near. The tree was amazed. He looked at the scene. The sky was so blue, the garden so green. Mountains and vineyards and cities he saw. Millions of mansions looked over the shore. The tree was so thankful and heavy with fruit, he bowed to the man in humble salute. The man stood below, a smile on his face. His children were running all over the place. They climbed up the tree, they swung from his vines. They seemed to be having the happiest time. The garden was sunlit. The tree was aware of laughter and music and life everywhere. Life in the garden, life on the shore, so much more life than he had in the drawer. A breeze stirred his leaves, a wind howled through. The tree understood that all things were new. The tree understood that he had been freed. He barely remembered when he was a seed. He barely remembered his life in the drawer. His fears disappeared and returned nevermore. I love that story. I especially love that the tree had everything. No tree that we know has everything. All the fruits, all the flowers, all the nuts, all the birds, everything, which is so awesome. And it reminds me of Jesus because this is what Jesus did for us. He freed us. He freed us from the dark drawer. He freed us and gave us life abundantly. And that's what's so wonderful about the Easter Mass, because we haven't heard an Alleluia for a long, long time. But at the Easter Mass, we glory in the Alleluia, singing it loudly, so wonderful, because we know we have reason to rejoice. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, Easter is not just yesterday. In our faith, the Easter season lasts for 50 days, all the way until Pentecost. And so we have a lot to rejoice about. So my challenge for you is to keep rejoicing. And this week in particular, to try to find a little something every day to rejoice about. And it could be something really small, like that butterfly that you see. It could be something like we're going to show you in a minute. Because my very, very first challenge to you was to plant a sunflower. And you saw that Chris and Shannon and I planted sunflowers, and we were going to see who's did the best. So I'm going to show you our sunflowers right now. Are you ready? Here we go. So these are our sunflowers. And as you can see, my friend Chris, he has the least amount of growth in here. But if I have to be honest with you, it's because Shannon and I hogged all the seeds when we were planting. And poor Chris, he really didn't have as many seeds as we did. And if I want to be doubly honest with you, I can't really call these Chris, Mrs. Impastato, and Shannon. I have to call these Chris 1, Chris 2, Chris 3. Because the only one taking care of these is Chris. Chris should really take all of these to his home and have a gigantic sunflower garden where he lives. But he's such a nice guy. I know he's going to let us have them. But sometimes I don't even remember that these exist if it wasn't for Chris. See how nice and wet they are? All nice and watery. And Shannon's no better. Shannon is no better. And so I hope you have a good friend like Chris who's willing to help you and take care of you. Because in times like this, we need all the friends we can get and all the family we can get. So I hope that you send me some pictures, and maybe you didn't grow sunflower. Some of my friends grew other things. So I want to see how you're doing, because before you know it, we are going to be able to be outside and put these things in the ground, because we can still do that, even with the quarantine, okay? So I hope you have a wonderful Easter week, and I miss you guys, but here you go. Have a great day.